Hi everybody. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Sony VCT-HSM1 Helmet mount for the FDR X3000 camera. I just got the camera recently, watched a lot of YouTube videos, some really good videos, some not so good videos on reviews on the camera, and selected that particular camera for a couple of motorcycle trips that I'm going on here later in the year. Then I had to select a mount, and I began to watch the YouTube videos of the VCT-HSM1 mount, and quite a few people said that it wasn't a very good mount. And then I saw some videos of people that were, modifying it with various bits and pieces of, say, GoPro parts, and one gentleman made a beautiful carbon fiber mount. But so I thought, well, heck, it's Sony. The mount can't be that bad. Let's go ahead and order that and use that particular mount. So I did order it, and like everybody else that I guess has gone down this road, I immediately found that one of the #1 problems with this mount is that you can't get the camera on this particular helmet anyway, and probably on most helmets, you can't get the camera to go, aligned to a horizontal position. So all of your images would be tilted, and that would be hideously annoying. There is an adjustment here, so you can slide the camera in and out some, and so the hope was that you could slide it all the way out and then tilt it up enough, but it still is not enough to make the image go horizontal. So I spent a few minutes looking at this thing and thought, I wondered, if there's some other way that I could change this mount without, adding bits and pieces to make it work. And in fact, I came up with 2 different ways to use this mount using just the pieces that came in the kit. And either way is good. I've got some test footage here towards the end of this video. I took some rides with both positions. Not a lot of difference in terms of the images that you get. And there are pros and cons to both ways of mounting them. So I'm going to show you now what I did. First, I want to talk a little bit about the stick-on mount. If I can get this camera off of here. So I'm not going to do an unboxing video of the VCT-HSM1 because there's quite a few of those online already. But the kit does come with 2 of these stick-on helmet mounts, and they are unfortunately large and ugly. And you consider that probably 90% of the time you're not going to have a helmet on your, not going to have the cam on your motorcycle. You're just going to have this piece of shit stuck to the side of your helmet. It's really unfortunate. So when I went to stick this on, I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to get it in the right place. I wanted it far enough forward so that I didn't have the helmet in the view of the camera when I was riding. Unfortunately, I failed at that, not only because I couldn't mount this any further forward than it is now, but also I'll show you when you ride, your camera winds up being tilted back here someplace because your helmet is tucked forward. And, of course, that brings the camera further back. But I had a really difficult time. The kit comes with 2 of these things. They both have exactly the same curve. It would be nice if they put, 2 different ones in the kit with different curves. And I moved this thing all around trying to find a good solid place to mount it. And this was the farthest forward that I could mount, where I could put this thing on the side and one corner or the other wasn't, in the air, so that I could rock it back and forth, like here, for instance, rocking it back and forth. So this is really unfortunate that this thing is so big and ugly, and that the curvature is so limited. But that's the way it is. So now let's talk about the different ways to change the mount. Oh, another thing too. As you've seen probably online, the kit comes with all this extra crap that you're supposed to stick onto your helmet in order to, as a safety wire to prevent this thing from hitting the ground if it comes loose. For me, it's just too much crap on the helmet. I did see one fellow that used this lanyard, and he put it inside and wrapped it around his strap, and that's probably what I'm going to do. It is nice to have that little extra sense of security there. And then, of course, it also comes with this locking thing, which when you see me take this thing on and off and see how much I have to struggle to get that thing on and off, I can't imagine that it's just going to, inadvertently slide out of there. So I'm not too worried about using the lock. So let's go and look at this thing. So This is how, most people try to mount it like this alongside. We've already seen that doesn't work. So the two ways that I'm going to talk about today, I'll call the upside down way and the upside right way. Actually, so I'm going to just take the camera and turn the whole thing upside down, and then I'm going to take the camera off the mount, spin the camera around 180 degrees, stick it back on there, and slide it back onto the helmet. All right. So what has this done for us? Well, first of all, the camera's upside down, as you can see, but there's a quick setting. You can go in there to flip the image 180, and I did that when I tested this. But now, because the camera's upside down, I've got all this movement here to actually get the thing to be horizontal when my head is horizontal. And also you still have the ability to, probably when you're riding, to adjust this, so it's going to wind up being, something like that while you're riding. Or on some of my motorcycles that have a more radical riding position, it's even going to be more. But you can see that you can adjust it in that direction, and you can adjust it in the horizontal direction, and there's no problem. Now, some disadvantages with this mounting method. It's pretty far back, and you'll see in the video, even on a wide field of view and a medium field of view, you do see a bit of the helmet in there, so that's unfortunate. Also, I'll show you another piece of video. It tends to hit your shoulder because it sticks out. You can't rotate your head in this direction for more than just an inch or two, and bam, that thing is hitting your shoulder, especially if you've got a riding jacket on or something like that. And then also, of course, being mounted on this side of the helmet, you cannot see the screen, but you have to take your helmet off anyway to see the screen, and it's pretty easy just to flip this up and then get access to the screen. So that's the upside down mount, and I'll refer to that when I show you some video footage of the riding test. So now let's go with what I'm calling the upside right test, and it'll take a second here to remember what to do, but I'm going to take this off of the helmet. For this one, I'm going to take this joint here apart and flip it 180 degrees. So you just unscrew this thing. Taking this thing off, you'll notice there's this little cap on the other side. That cap, for whatever reason, this thing doesn't come out until you take that cap. So once you pull this thing out, just pop that cap out. You see it's got a couple of little tangs in there that that fit into these slots right here. And pull this thing out. And you can take this off and just flip it around 180 degrees and put it back on again. And this time I'll put it through from the back like I mentioned there. Line up your little tabs, put that cap back in there, and then screw it back on. Okay, and then the other thing we have to do is flip the camera back around 180 degrees. We'll do that, tighten that back up. Now we can stick this thing in here again. Let me struggle with it one more time. And you can see now, it's mounted on the side of the helmet. You can make some adjustments. So now I can go to the horizontal. I can tilt this thing back and forth in order to get the image where I want it. Unfortunately, when I was mounting this thing, I was hoping the camera would be forward up here, so I didn't see the helmet. But in reality, when you're riding, the thing is going to be, somewhere back here, depending on how radical your riding position is, and you wind up seeing part of the helmet. But in this mounting position, again, the buttons are easy to access. You just reach up with your glove hand and you can hit this button. This one has the advantage that you can see the screen, and also it does not bang into your shoulder like the other one does. It's a little bit more expansive, I guess, on the helmet. It's not quite as compact. And also I was worried because this cool little feature here that lets you rotate this thing also has just enough slop in it. I don't know if you can see that. It's got just enough slop in it where this thing moves around a little bit. So I was kind of worried about the fact that the image was going to be shaky. I'm still lining this thing up while I'm talking. But I used this thing in the sample footage that I'm going to show you, and I kept the optical stabilization turned on as well as the digital stabilization, and you actually don't see any of that movement there. So this works out pretty well too. As you're riding, it'll be something like this. So those are the two ways. Now let's take a look at some footage.
For the road test, I'm going to be riding my old Ducati Sport Tourer, and I picked this bike because the riding position is somewhat upright and very similar to the bike that I'll be riding in a couple of weeks on vacation.